Well, wow. Well, damn. In my Gucci Mane voice, I was not expecting the Eagles to just destroy the Chiefs like that. I did pick the Eagles to win. I picked them to win a low-scoring game by 2 points, and they just shellacked. That's a word you only hear in football. Shellack. That was a shellacking. So I don't know who's going to be the Super Bowl MVP. It's probably going to be Jalen Hurts because he was the quarterback and he had good numbers, and he played really well. But if I were picking the Super Bowl MVP, I would vote for Vic Fangio. Damn, what an incredible coach. What an incredible game plan. Like Steve Spagnuolo might go into the Hall of Fame one day as a coordinator because he's great and he deserves it and he's a great coach. But Vic Fangio's better. Vic Fangio schooled Andy Reid tonight in a way I haven't seen a coach school Andy Reid ever. It's incredible. There was nothing Andy Reid could do. Now, yes, the Chiefs are working at a deficit and they don't have as much talent, but they were the favorites to win the game. He's supposed to be the next Bill Walsh, and Vic Fangio made him look like he had no answers, no solutions, nothing that would work. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. The Niners had Vic Fangio once upon a time. And, you know, there's a world where firing Harbaugh would have been okay. Bear with me on this one. If they had made Vic Fangio the head coach. Now, I know he went to Denver and didn't work out as a head coach, but it was Denver. If you had kept Vic Fangio as the head coach of the Niners or promoted him to the head coach, would Patrick Willis have retired? Would Justin Smith have retired? Would that team have fallen apart? I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But it's nice to see Vic Fangio become a Super Bowl champion before. Well, it's nice to see him become a champion. But it's interesting to see him become a champion before Harbaugh and Kyle. Danny Gray has a championship ring now. Danny Gray. Isn't that interesting? All right. Let's talk about the head coaches. Nick Sirianni is now a Super Bowl champion. Nick Sirianni has now accomplished something that Kyle Shanahan has failed to accomplish in 3 tries and may never accomplish. And the question is, why? Is Nick Sirianni really a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan? And I think the answer is obviously yes. But the bigger question is, what does a head coach really do? Because with a coordinator, a play caller, you can see their impact on the game from snap to snap. He called this play. With Sirianni, you can say, what does he do? He's not calling plays. He's giving press conferences. He's setting the schedule. Is he a glorified secretary? Is he a glorified cheerleader? I mean, you could say all those things, and a lot of that's true. But one thing the reason why Nick Sirianni is a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan is because Nick Sirianni plays his position. Nick Sirianni gets out of the way. That's the most important thing he does. Kyle Shanahan is involved in everything. Defense, offense, play calling. Everything has to go through him. Every decision, every personnel decision, every schematic decision goes through him. He's not just a head coach. He's a head coach plus general manager plus play caller plus coordinator. He's a control freak. He has no leadership ability and he has no emotional capacity. He has a scheme that he forces on the team. And he brings in players who fit the scheme. He doesn't bring the best players into the team. He doesn't play the best players. So the best thing Nick Sirianni does is get out of the way. Would Kyle Shanahan have won a Super Bowl with this Eagles team this year? No. He would have messed it up. He would have had them running the wrong offense because it's his scheme and he thinks it's better, even though it doesn't fit the personnel. He would have overthought some key moment in the game. We've seen him against Andy Reid. We've seen him against Steve Spagnuolo. He has no clue against Steve Spagnuolo. He's a scheme. He's a scheme coach. Sirianni, he's not a scheme coach. He's had 3 different coordinators. I'm not even saying he's a good I don't really know what he does. If he didn't have Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio, would he be good? I don't know. But he does have them. And if you have Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio, who are clearly like the MVPs of that organization, who do you want to be the head coach? Like, I don't think you want Fangio to be the head coach at this point in his career, at his age. I don't think you want. I mean, he's never even shown that he can do it. Sirianni has a little bit more energy. He's younger. Who would get out of the way better than him while actually having a pulse on the sideline? It works. And I think it's interesting that we're starting to see you don't have to have an offensive play caller who's 35 or 40 or 45 or 45 but wishes he's 22 as the head coach. You can actually have a CEO, chairman of the board type who, I'm going to use a big word here. Starts with a D. It's delegates. It's okay to delegate. It's what head coaches, that's kind of what they're supposed to do. And if you can't delegate, that means you're a control freak and you'll ultimately limit the potential of your team. He lets Vic Fangio be Vic Fangio. Kyle didn't want Vic Fangio. He said, you could come here if you work with Chris Kasarik. I mean, I don't even know the Eagles well enough to tell you if Nick Sirianni hired Vic Fangio or Howie Roseman did, but the organizational structure is so much better in Philly. Everything about that team is so much better. Brian Berquist says Niners better take notice. Super Bowls are won in the trenches. True. It's Nick for real. Now I wonder if it's really Nick for real. Because if he says it's Nick for real, I'm thinking it might not be Nick. How the game played out, Kyle needs to be fired. You think the Niners should fire Kyle tomorrow just because of how this game played out? I feel that. Sirianni won before offensive genius, says El Cortez. Anoop says, please get me CEO coach, #1 priority. I think what's tough about the Niners is like they have this, the Bill Walsh, Joe Montana history. So fans, maybe the organization is always looking for like the next Bill Walsh, the next Joe Montana. Those were outliers. And that was 40 years ago. Maybe you should just look for like the next, I don't know, good coach, whoever that is. Could call Noob. Donalucci 650 says, I watch your channel because I live in the Bay as an Eagles fan. I like keeping my enemies close. It was nice having the Bay cheer for the Eagles. I think the whole world was. Dustin Dagg says, remember when Shanahan turned down Fangio? I do. Shady Luke, resident Eagles fan, says, I remember a year ago, somebody on here, Hurts getting the Super Bowl before Brock and laughed my ass off. Did I laugh? Oh, I'm sorry. Doubt Brock could throw a deep ball like that. Let's talk about it. Thank you. So Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl. He was really good in this game. He was really good in his Super Bowl loss 2 years ago. Jalen Hurts is a very interesting test case. He's a bit of a Rorschach test. Some people think he's absolute trash. Some people think he's overrated. It's hard to say. Is he overrated or underrated? Some people think he is not a quarterback. So let's start there. I mean, Jalen Hurts versus Brock Purdy. First of all, Jalen Hurts in this game, like 300 yards of total offense, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 40 points. Now, 7 of them came on defense, but Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs shut down Christian McCaffrey, game over. The Niners had no offense. They scored 19 points in regulation, 22 points total. It was embarrassing. Shut down Christian McCaffrey, game over. In this game, the Chiefs shut down Saquon Barkley. And Jalen Hurts beat him because he's a running back too. That's what a lot of his detractors that just write him off say. He's not even a quarterback. He's a running back. Okay, fine. Let's go with that. Let's think of Jalen Hurts as a running back. He's a running back. The Eagles don't have a quarterback. They run the Wildcat offense, and the Wildcat is Hurts, okay? As a Wildcat quarterback, I'm not even going to use the word quarterback. As a Wildcat running back, Jalen Hurts kicks ass. He'll give you 700-800 yards on a season and 14-15 touchdowns. And this game, he gave him 70 plus yards, 6.5 yards a carry and a touchdown. He's a hell of a running back. And this running back just so happens to be able to complete 77% of his passes in a Super Bowl and give you 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio and complete the dagger down the middle, the touchdown to Devontae Smith. That's a hell of a running back. If literally, if he were listed as a running back, we're the Eagles, we don't have a quarterback, we don't even have a quarterback, we're going full Wildcat, this is our running back. And he throws, but we're calling him a running back. People would say, this is Shohei Ohtani. This is a Hall of Fame. This is an incredible player. We've never seen someone do something like this. But you call him a quarterback, and he's like, well, he's not really doing it the right way. Okay. And he wouldn't fit Kyle's offense if that's what you consider the right style of NFL offense. He would definitely not do well on Kyle's. He would get benched. He would get benched for freaking Brandon Allen on the 49ers. But in that offense, with the RPO system and zone read, he executes it very efficiently. And again, if he weren't running, if he had to stay in one place and not be a running back, he wouldn't be good. In fact, he'd be bad. But he's a running back. And I think that's kind of underrated. Like the fact that he's a legit running back. Mahomes isn't a running back. Lamar Jackson isn't a running back. Lamar Jackson's built like a wide receiver. He's not built to break tackles like that. He's a great runner, one of the greatest NFL runners of all time, but he's not a running back. Michael Vick wasn't a running back. Like you could legit line up Jalen Hurts at running back in the I formation. The only quarterbacks I've ever seen that you could really say that they're actual running backs too were like him, Josh Allen, Steve Young was built like a running back. Maybe Cam Newton in his prime. I'm not talking mobile. What a weapon that is. Who doesn't want that? We just saw what that offense did to Steve Spagnuolo. I'm just saying. I mean, I know they have a lot more going for them. They have a great offensive line. A.J. Brown's an incredible player. Saquon Barkley, yada, yada, yada. But like Saquon Barkley got bottled up and Jalen Hurts. The Chiefs' defensive game plan, Steve Spagnuolo's defensive game plan was make Jalen Hurts beat us. And he did. Last year, his defensive game plan was make Brock Purdy beat us. And he didn't. I'm taking Jalen Hurts. Call him what you want. I'm taking Jalen Hurts, and if he doesn't fit the Shanahan offense, I'm getting a different coach. I don't need that offense. And you see what an offense that has two rushing threats, Hurts and Barkley, you can't stop both of them. You can't. And Purdy's not that kind of a rushing threat. He's quick. He's super elusive. He'll get away from sacks. But in the Super Bowl, he rushed for 12 yards. 12. It's fine. He's a quarterback. He's not a running back like my man Jalen Hurts. But you kind of need that. Even Jaden Daniels, who looks phenomenal, he's not a running back. And he got smoked by the Eagles. And their Wildcat offense. You got to hand it to Jalen Hurts. I like what the Eagles are doing in terms of their offensive philosophy. Also, every team needs to be able to do the freaking tush push, dude. That is such a weapon. And I know Brock Purdy's a good quarterback sneaker, but it's not the same thing. The Eagles just load up with people behind them saying, we're doing this now. You can't stop it. Niners don't do that. They're like sneaking it in. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hold on. This stream, by the way, is presented by BetUS. Number one in my heart, sports book and casino. And yeah, if you like live casino games, you know what I'm saying? Live casino games like card games, like roulette, go to BetUS and check it out right now because they got that on lock. If you haven't noticed, the stream is powered by BetUS. Okay. Let's talk. Well, I want to talk a little Niners in a minute. Baby Radiant says, is Purdy still better than Hurts? No. Oh, I wanted. So one more thing. I think I was just ranting and I forgot what I wanted. But so Okay, so Hurts is a. Did I mention this? I'm tired. Hurts is a running back, right? Does Purdy make that throw to Devontae Smith? The deep one down the middle? I don't think he does. I think he would have missed it. I mean, we've seen him hit some deep throws in the past, but he freaking airmailed Brandon Ayuk in the Super Bowl last year. I don't know. Do you think you're ever going to watch Brock Purdy play as well in a Super Bowl as Jalen Hurts just did? Do you really think Brock Purdy's ever going to win a Super Bowl? I don't. But I'm often wrong. And I'm open to being wrong once again. But I still think they shouldn't pay him. Is Purdy still better than Hurts? No, baby radiance. JDM 408 says Eagles have 5 former 49ers. Oren Burks, Cam Latu, Ty Davis Price, Tariq Castro-Fields, and Danny Gray. They're getting a ring before the Niners starters. Only Oren Burks played this season. Crazy stuff. Is that Howie Roseman's way of trolling the Niners? Like, look, I'm going to claim all of your biggest draft busts just to put them on my practice squad or whatever and win a Super Bowl with them and laugh that Ty Davis Price gets a ring before Kyle. The coach says, I came to watch the pro work. What up, coach? Love you, man. I'm trying over here. Gold Blooded says, if Mahomes was sponsored by Allstate and not State Farm, he could have saved himself from mayhem like that. Jacob says, we will have a better rest differential next year. Oh, man. Z-Roke Atch 1. I can't read that. Why would you write that? I can't read. That's a Z, an R, an O, a K, an E, an A, a C, an H, and a 1. I don't know what that's supposed to, but I liked it. Fangio made Reed look like Shanahan. He did. Because, like, you saw Mahomes at the end. He was making some incredible throws. If he had any time, it looked a lot like the Super Bowl from 4 or 5 years ago. You know what they should do in Kansas City? Fire Andy Reid. He's bum. Fire him, man. Sucks. Glenn says Sirianni stopped calling plays to coach the team. Kyle won't do that. Kyle is the OC, and we have no head coach. Can we read that one again? Let's read it again. Glenn. Big Glenn. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I won't try. Catcher? I tried. Kasher. I don't think it's Kasher, but I want it to be. Glenn says Sirianni stopped calling plays to coach the team, ? Kyle won't do that. Kyle is the OC. We have no head coach. No, you do. You do. Salah's back. He's a head coach. It's Nick Furiel says, if key to win is a dual threat quarterback, what about Fields? Yes. I think a lot of teams should be interested in Justin Fields after watching what the Eagles did this year. Yes. The problem is Justin Fields and Kyle Shanahan is just an awful combination. Like, Kyle would get him hurt quickly, is my prediction. If you put Justin Fields on the Commanders, I think he would do pretty well. I think he's going to stay in Pittsburgh, though. That's their guy. I meant it in a joke way, Grant. It says Baby Radiance. Adam K says, as a Niners fan watching this game, I am feeling major FOMO, wishing our team had pulled this off last year. Anoop says, use entire draft on O-line, D-line, kicker, 6'11 Blues. You got the 6'11 Blues. All right, let's talk Debo. So Debo Samuel, gotta love Debo. It's like today wasn't about him at all, but somehow it became Debo Samuel Day because the news came out that he requested a trade. And at first, it was reported by NFL Network, and they kind of said it in like a strange, like the Niners are gonna maybe, or they're gonna explore trading Debo. Like they might trade him, they might not. Okay. And then Adam Schefter's like, yeah, Debo requested a trade at his exit meeting. So that means the exit meeting was like a day or two after the season. I'm guessing the exit meeting was before John and Kyle spoke to the media, although I can't prove it. But I'm pretty sure the exit meetings were before John and Kyle spoke to the media. Remember, John was asked explicitly about Debo Samuel's future on the team, and he said, "Oh, he's a good player. Just get rid of a good player." It's possible that Debo had already asked for a trade. I was like, "What are you talking about?" But maybe not. Still, what I think is so wonderful about this is that the Niners weren't going to get rid of Debo Samuel. They were going to keep him, which would have been awful. They should have got rid of Debo Samuel after he had 3 catches on 11 targets in the Super Bowl and essentially cost them the game by being so freaking awful. Should have got rid of him last. They could have got probably a 3rd-round pick for him last year. But they didn't. They bring him back, and they cater to him left and right. He was awful all year. They were going down the tubes. They finally win a game against the Bears. One freaking game in which they didn't really use him very much. Then he goes directly to social media, complains about it. Then the next week they play the Rams with the season on the line and go back to freaking Debo because he complained. Drops a key pass that could have been a touchdown. They freaking lose, eliminated. He cost them this year. He was a net negative, and they would have brought him back again. And they would have gave him another 90 touches. They would have. And I don't know why. I can't even really explain the psychology behind it. It's just what a weak organization does, and they were going to do it. And Debo said, I want out. That's the best thing he's ever done for the 49ers. Now, 2021 was a nice season. I got to give, it's the second best thing he's ever done for the 49ers. This is mercy. He could have stuck around and been a malcontent and complained when he didn't get the ball and kept Ricky Pearsall on the bench. He's going to leave because he wants out, because he thinks he's still good. God bless him. Bless his little heart. This could be the catalyst to the 49ers Super Bowl run. Maybe Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings and George Kittle all step up. And what's funny is, like, the Niners have more than enough receiving options. Between Kittle, Pearsall, Jennings, and Ayuk when he eventually comes back, that's a lot. But Kyle Shanahan, if he trades Debo Samuel, he's going to go out and sign like T. Higgins or Devontae Adams, because God forbid you don't have $60 million invested in the wide receiver position at all times. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Debo Samuel, I think a lot of people have said a lot of mean things about Debo today. Oh, Debo, he's not loyal. He's all about himself. I think he's the most selfless person on this team. He sacrificed himself for the 49ers. What he has done for this organization, I mean, it's one of the most generous acts of kindness any player has ever demonstrated. Guys, I'm out. I know you didn't have the courage to break up with me, so I'm breaking up with you. The Niners should retire his number. 19 and 1, both of them retired for Debo. They should throw him a parade. Do you think that at the exit meeting that the Niners maybe secretly were going to tell him that they're going to trade him, and he was like, hey guys, guess what? No, I don't think they were. No, what the Niners were going to do is they were going to be like, hey, Debo, we love you. We think you're really good. We want you on the team, but let's look at your film. You weren't that good. Remember a couple of years ago? Was it last year? No, 2 years ago. When was it? Debo said he was trash. Remember he said that? I watched the film. I was trash. That was so refreshing. But now it's like, no, I didn't get enough opportunities on the 49ers. I want out. Well, hope he gets the opportunities elsewhere. I don't know where those opportunities are going to come from. B. Cruisin says Hurts is definitely better than Purdy, and Sirianni is better than Kyle. Sorry, but congrats to Fangio. Definitely congrats to Fangio. He should have been the successor to Harbaugh on the 49ers. Scorpion Killer Zero says Devontae Adams for Debo. Yeah, I'm sure that the Jets are thinking, what do we need? We suck. We need to start over. Why don't we get 29-year-old Debo, who has no burst, poor attitude, poor agility, poor route running? That'll be the guy. Abu Marco 23 says AJ Brown owed Trent McDuffie tonight. What a comparison to what his bestie Debo did last year. Let's move him ASAP. And what's sad is the Niners could have had AJ Brown. They drafted Debo Samuel over him. It worked out for a few years, but AJ Brown looks like a legit number one wide receiver, while Debo Samuel was always kind of like a hybrid player. Dave Barclay says Eagles 2024 equals Niners 2023. Missed opportunity. There's a big difference between those teams. Nick Sirianni versus Kyle, Jalen Hurts versus Purdy, Steve Wilkes versus Fangio. Kev F says Niners will never win a ring with Purdy as QB. Dave Barclay says cast-wise, but Lyle is so much worse. Fire him. Okay, well, this is another bit of news. Diana Rossini came out today, The Athletic, and said that the Niners and Brock Purdy have begun negotiating a contract extension. This is interesting. I mean, technically they could have begun on January 5th. That's when the season ended. Maybe they did. But it's finally been reported that the talks have started. And it sounds like, wow, good. They're being aggressive. They're getting out ahead of this thing. Maybe it'll be done soon. I think it's worth pointing out that when the Niners extended Jimmy Garoppolo 7 years ago, 2018, that was finalized and announced on February 8th. Today is February 9th. So I think it's clear the Niners want this done. They've probably made an offer, and Purdy hasn't accepted it yet. And they're going to put a lot of pressure on him to accept it and do it quickly and get this done so he can be at OTAs. And he said he wants to get it done quickly also, but he hasn't accepted it yet. And it's February 9th. And this is officially one day longer than it took the Niners to extend Jimmy Garoppolo. So something to keep in mind. Brock Purdy seems so nice and unassuming and aw shucks and yada, 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 but he hasn't accepted it yet. And I don't know what he's going to do, because on the one hand, the offer is probably a lot of money, even if it's not what he wanted. It'll still probably make him the highest paid player on the team, maybe one of the highest paid players in the league. And he had a bad year this year, and he doesn't have a lot of leverage. But if he waits, the Niners usually cave and make a bigger offer in a few months. They've done it like 7 times in a row. So if his agent is a good agent, and if Brock Purdy is interested in making the most money possible and feels like the Niners, owe him money for his performance the last few years, maybe he waits. Maybe this takes some more time. But look, again, the report is that they've started, they're talking. They could finalize this tomorrow. If it's on the Niners timeline, this would be done now. So it's interesting, something to keep an eye on. I'm kind of rooting for Brock Purdy to take his time. But why not? I would. One more thing. The Cowboys reportedly are discussing trading Micah Parsons, their all-pro edge rusher. He's a great player. They've invested a lot of money in CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, and I think they're wondering, if they invest a ton of money in one more player, will they have another team? Will they have an actual team to put around him? Probably not. At a certain point, they got to actually build out like a middle class on their team. But that's good news for the 49ers, because they have a first-round pick, a pretty high one, and they're probably going to mess it up like they usually do. They could have had Cooper DeJean. Can we talk about that for a second? Cooper DeJean is really good. He had a pick 6 in this game. They could have had him. But no, they didn't want him. They wanted Ricky Pearsall, who's like 25 years old. Cooper DeJean just turned 22. Anyway, so the Niners could try to draft in round 1, or they could trade the pick and maybe next year's first for an incredible player. We talked about Myles Garrett. He's almost 30, and that's reason enough not to make the deal. The Niners are already one of the older teams in the league. Why trade? Your main avenue to get younger. Why trade that for a player who's 29, even if he's great? Okay, point taken. Micah Parsons is 25. What's the argument against this? Oh, because you think you're going to get someone as good as Micah Parsons with your first pick? You won't. Spoiler, you won't. So I don't know. Like, the Niners need to be aggressive this offseason. They can't tell themselves that, like, oh, they got Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley and Brant Boyer, and they're going to re-sign Dre Greenlaw, and they're going to get Christian McCaffrey back, and they're going to be the best team in the NFC. Like, no. The Eagles are head and shoulders better than everyone. The Commanders are much better than the Niners, and the Eagles stomped the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. So some rookie is going to come to the 49ers next year and be the difference maker. He's going to bridge the gap between them and the Eagles. And it's like, okay, well, why even worry about that? The Niners need to plan for the future. Okay, then why are they holding on to like 17 players in their 30s? They keep running it back. They keep holding on to guys who were 31, 32, 33 because they want to actually win a Super Bowl with this team before moving on and retooling, as if they will. So why don't you trade a rookie, a 22-year-old or a 24-year-old rookie, whatever they're going to trade the first-round pick for Micah Parsons before the Commanders do? It's just a thought. I don't know. Crazy Rod 16 says, if you could cut Jimmy Rice, then you could trade Debo. If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball. That's true. B Cruising 302 says Niners really need to get Garrett after tonight or Parsons. Adam K says, guess the Kyle fan club didn't see this plot twist coming. Nick got his ring first. I got to think that Kyle was rooting for Kansas City. Because if Kansas City wins, he could be like, look, no one can beat the Chiefs. They're unbeatable. It's impossible. No, the guy that you think does nothing beat him. Scorpion Killer 0 says best route with Debo trade. What would you do? I think they're going to have to cut him. I don't think anyone's going to trade for Debo. You have to extend his contract. He just went to the Super Bowl looking like, not in great shape. I think he's trying to get cut because if the Niners trade him, they could trade him to New England. They could trade him to Cleveland. And they might want to. Whereas if he gets cut, then he could go to the Eagles or wherever he thinks he wants to go. Life 62020. Let me try reading that again. Life 263 says Philly did what we Niners was supposed to do ever since we got McCaffrey. Score high points, stats don't matter. Too much sauce says, is Kay Adams overrated as a talent? And Mina Kimes. I don't have an opinion. I don't know. It seems like Kay Adams conducts good interviews and Mina Kimes knows ball. I don't know. I don't know. Kilo T Dub says Nick Sirianni is better than Kyle. Quality control. Please highlight this all 2025. Nick Sirianni is good, but he's no big Dom. All right, guys. That's it. I don't have much more to say. Looking forward to the 49ers killer offseason. They only have a little bit of ground to make up to catch the Eagles. They got this. They're going to be back in the Super Bowl next year. Forget the Eagles. The Niners are back. Watch out. Niners Dodgers says, I can see D'Amico Ryans picking up Debo. Why? Who needs Debo and his podcast? Good luck, Debo. Thanks for watching.